who's used Book Creator? How many of us are familiar with Book Creator? Sharon is good. There's a little icon at the top that you can click so you can get an idea who's on. Okay, you can do that as we're going through. Okay, right, so welcome, Gillian.
Thanks very much, Craig,
okay,
and
thanks.
Welcome everyone else here today.
Yeah. And I wanted, just before we lounge into Book Creator, maybe tell us a bit about the background of Book Creator.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was quite surprised actually we hadn't already hosted a webinar about Book Creator, because it is really, we find such a great app, but we're finally getting round to it, so hopefully we'll give you a good taste of the app during the session today. But yeah, just a wee bit of background. So this is an app for creating books, as the title says, and it's been around since 2011. The company Red Jumper is actually a UK-based company. I was quite surprised actually today when I initially thought it might have been an American company, but no, they're based down in Bristol, and it's just quite an interesting story actually, because the person Dan Amos, who developed Book Creator, actually wrote it because of his son, 4-year-old son, who was struggling with reading due to dyslexia. So he developed this app for him to use so that he could make books for him to read. And I think the key thing is to make books about topics that he was interested in. So Star Wars is mentioned in this background story, pets, and books about family. I think the thing too that sets this app apart maybe from other apps is that it's a child-friendly app, in that children themselves can get involved in creating the books. So that's just a wee taster of the background to the app.
Something local is quite handy because they're quite responsive if you want things added or amended or changed. They're quite good at that, aren't they?
They are indeed, and good thing too is that there's quite a bit of support on their website. So we have when
we go back we can look at the links.
We can have a look at the link to the website. Okay. So it is cited as being a number one in the iTunes App Store in over 90 countries. Over 200 million ebooks have been created in Book Creator, and also was a BET winner, which is the world's leading educational technology event, back in 2015.
So he's obviously a happy and rich man.
Absolutely, yes. So just moving on then. So it is certainly one of our top apps for use in schools. Certainly, I think there's a previous webinar where Joanna spoke about top 5 apps, and it was one of them. So that it's certainly, we would consider it as one of the essential apps for schools who are using iPads. And there are many ways in which ebooks can be used. These are 3 of the key top 3 ways that we would consider ebooks are useful for. So far as supporting literacy, well, that's the obvious one, isn't it? For both reading and also for writing, but also for supporting communication. And I suppose as a speech therapist, this is particularly relevant to me, but also for staff working with children with any kind of communication difficulty, because of the fact that these books can use multimedia in them, so recordings, speech recordings, and also video and music. It means that these books, you can create them in an accessible format so that children can share information with others, and these children might otherwise find it difficult to give that information. We also feel it's useful for helping children with organisational skills, so far as having lists of things to follow, or maybe even visual sort of timetables and reminders, or having workbooks, children's plan. So lots and lots of different ways that Book Creator can be used, and I'm sure there are more. But as I say, that's a flavour of how we feel it can be used. So, as I mentioned, the company Red Jumper, and there's two website URLs that you can use to get to the website, either redjumper.net or bookcreator.com. They both go to the same place. We're winners of an award back in 2015 at BET. So, Book Creator is an app that we have included in our app wheels, and I wanted to share this with everybody in case you haven't already been to the website to find and download the app wheels that we have as a resource. And the first two app wheels that are here are iPad apps for supporting children with dyslexia. iPad, the blue one, and the pink one is Android apps. And you'll see that Book Creator, I've just circled that, appears on both of them. And moving on to the other two app wheels that we have available for download. These are apps for supporting children with communication difficulties. You've got the green one, which is iPad apps, and the orange, which is Android apps, and you'll see that Book Creator is on them too. And I think that's probably one of the only, or certainly one of the few apps that actually appears on all of our app wheels. Another indication of how useful we feel it is. So today we'll have really just a basic overview of the app. I've used it in many ways, however I don't claim to know everything about Book Creator. But if you do have any sort of questions or anything in particular at the end that you might like me to go over, I'll be happy to do that.
Type them in the text box as we're going along, and then we can review them at the end as well.
Or if there's any questions that we can't quite answer today, we'd be happy to follow it up afterwards. So where can you get Book Creator? Well, Book Creator you can buy for iPads, and that's what I'll be showing it primarily on today is my iPad, but you can buy it for Android devices, and you can buy it, and it's available for running on a Windows PC. So the first slide here is just a screenshot of the App Store, and you'll see that there are two versions there. There's a free Book Creator, and then there's the Book Creator for iPad. Now the free app is quite useful actually, so anybody can download that as I say for free. It allows you to make one book. So if you want to just get a wee bit of a taste of what Book Creator's like, you can download that. There are one or two features that you don't get. You don't get comic templates, and I'll show you that later, and you can't join books together, which is a feature of the full Book Creator app. But for looking at most of the other features, they're available in the free version. So that's $4.99. The prices are not shown on my screenshot because we've already purchased them, but the app to buy from the App Store is $4.99, and really for what you get, it's a very good value, we feel. So if you're hoping to run it on an Android tablet, then you purchase it from the Google Play Store, and it's £1.50, even less. There's one or two things that you don't get with the Android version. You don't get the comic templates, and you don't get shapes. I think it is when you come to be creating your book, you can't add shapes. But it does come with an inbuilt reader, so as well as creating your books within the app, you can also read them within it, and you can share it in the same way as you would from the other apps as an EPUB. So maybe particularly good for families who might be more likely to have an Android tablet at home. So you can create a book on an iPad, email it to an Android device as an EPUB, which is a standard way of sharing a book, and view it on an Android device.
So it's interchangeable between devices.
It is.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Good. And finally, the other version of Book Creator is for running is on a PC, so on a Windows PC, and you get this from the App Store, and the link actually is you can get to this from the Book Creator website. This is how I got it today, dear. So if you just Google it, you would get to the Windows App Store too, and you can see that it's free actually to run on Windows. Again, there's one or two things you don't get with the Windows version. Again, the comics, you can't join books, and you can only share as an EPUB, so you can't share it in any other format. But there's an inbuilt reader too with this, so it does make it quite a useful way of reading books and creating books
so
too.
I'm assuming that would have to be Windows 10 you'd have, because you could need access to the books to the Windows Store. And if you had Windows 7, you wouldn't be able to do so. Really, Windows 10.
So Windows 10.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this next screenshot is just showing the final poster I wanted to show you, and this is a poster that we've created here at Call Scotland with ideas for using Book Creator. So you can download this from the website too, and as you can see, we have we've grouped the ideas into the three areas I mentioned before: using Book Creator for developing or supporting communication on the left, in the middle developing organisational skills, and also for developing literacy, with a few sort of tips round about. So you might find this useful to print off and share around. I'd say just with a few ideas as to how you could use Book Creator in your school.
Okay, good.
Okay, and I think that's us. We're now going to go over and have a look at Book Creator itself.
Okay,
yeah.
Right.
So let's just, So this is the Book Creator app itself. So this is how it looks when you open it up. However, where I'm actually going to start is I'm going to start with iBooks. Because whereas you create your books in Book Creator, you actually read them on your iPad, you read them in iBooks. So I'm going to go there first. So if I just come back into this is my iBooks app, and that's the free app that comes on the iPad. It should be there already. In fact, if I go back to my desktop, you'll see my iBooks is down the bottom, just on the right hand side. So just select that to open up my iBooks. And what I've got here are a few of the books that I've created in Book Creator, and also one book that I have downloaded from the actual App Store, because what people are doing, as I mentioned, is that they're creating books and then publishing them in the App Store, the iPad App Store. So this one here, I'm just going to open the blue book that I have here, is one that I downloaded from the App Store, and it's a book which was written by a school who wanted to provide a resource for helping pupils to learn work on their literacy skills, in particular the letters of the alphabet. So I'm actually opened the book, I think, near the back of it. But this is a sample really of a book and what you can do with Book Creator. So they've put in photos, they've put in text, and they've put in a wee bit of audio, and we'll just check and see if the audio is working. If I press the speaker of the A page.
A is for art because we learn about different artists and their art. We learn how to draw better. We use different paint and colors.
So there you go. You can record into Book Creator speech. You could be recording in sounds as well. So any kind of sounds that you want to put into your book, you can put in there. So you can see that this book's looks, you're viewing it as a book with 2 pages to view. So if I swipe my page, I can just go to the next page, and it makes it look like a book. I would say that I tend to have my books so that you're only viewing one page at a time, just so that the page fills the screen. And so there's an option, I'll show you how to do that in Book Creator. So if we go to a book that I've created, this is the my holiday book, and just go back to the front page. They're opening up a bit further on. So this is my front cover. So this is just really basically a collection of photographs made into a story as a record of a holiday, just with text and photo. There's actually no audio in this book at all. And you can see I'm just actually viewing one page at a time. And I quite like this because it fills the whole screen of the iPad. So a lot more powerful than just having a stack of photos in your camera roll on your iPad, to have the bit of text there as well. So that's another example, just a basic sample of a kind of photo album book. Where shall we go next? Here's one here, which I made. And I think the idea of using a book or creating a book as a kind of homeschool diary is quite an exciting idea, so that a child's going home, and rather than the information maybe being written in their diary about what they've been doing, they've got a book that they can share with their family to tell them themselves what they've been doing. So this is one that I created along these lines. So a bit of audio as well in here. If I just press the speaker. Things I've been doing at school. Bit loud, that one. And then swipe to the next page. So each of these pages obviously got a bit of audio there, just to give you a feel for that book. I think that's that one. And another one just to show you is this one here. So this is a book that's been made along the lines of a personal communication passport. Now, these have traditionally been printed books, which are basically all about me books, really, for sharing information with others about a pupil, but in a child accessible format, and in the format where the child can share the information about themselves in the first person. And adding or having it in Book Creator just makes it so much more exciting, doesn't it? Where you've got the audio and maybe a bit of video to share about yourself. So maybe for pupil engagement, it, as I say, encourages pupils to maybe to share that information. So yeah, you could have a communication passport made in Book Creator, and there's a wee bit of audio in this one. Hiya, please read my passport. Of course, that would need to be the child's voice and not an adult's voice, but here's just a wee example of how the book might look in terms of contents. Maybe a wee bit too much text on there, but could do with some more visuals. So, good way of sharing information about the pupil. And finally, just to show you how you can insert video as well into your book. Here's just a video I think I got off YouTube. There's no audio with this one, but just a cat trying to play a game on their iPad, but it could be any video.
I'm sure that's my cat, actually.
Is that yours, is it? Or it could be it could be information about the child, maybe how it's best to help them transfer from chair to another seat, for example. So actually having that information shared via video, or it might be the child's using signs and they have their own way of signing, using Sign Along or Makaton, their own way of making a sign. So if you've got a video clip of that, put it in the book, and then a bit of text to explain, or audio to explain what the sign means. It's quite a powerful way of sharing that information through video. So hopefully that gives you a wee bit of an overview of looking at reading the books in iBooks. What we should do now is just go to Book Creator and actually make a book. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Got a few minutes still to do that.
Good. So although you can view your books and read them, so to speak, in Book Creator, the kind of danger or the risk in doing that is that you can fairly easily change them or inadvertently edit them. So it's safer, I suppose, really, once you've made your book in Book Creator, to export it into iBooks. So that is the book as it was on the day that you shared it. You could still go back to Book Creator, say, to edit or change it, but you then need to send it back to iBooks again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here we are, and you'll see a similar selection of books that I've got here in Book Creator itself. And what we'll do, I think, is actually just make a new book. I'll just show you how easy it is to quickly make a new book. And there's two ways to do that. There's the plus sign at the bottom of the page, or there's also the new book on the top left. So I'm just going to press the plus sign at the bottom, and you'll see I've got one or two different options here to make a brand new book, to duplicate a book, so if I want to make something that's quite similar to one I have already. Or combine books is quite interesting, because you could have children maybe working on a book collaboratively, so they might work on a few pages on one iPad, and then you might have a child working on a few pages on another iPad, and you want to combine them together. So it's possible with them to combine them together to make them into one book. You can import a book, and that's where you, if you're, say, emailing it into the iPad, you can import it, or alternatively you can move it to the bookshelf. Now the bookshelf is just where you can organise your books, and I'll just show you the bookshelf. If I tap the webinar 1 of 9 at the top here, you'll see that I've got 1 or 2 bookshelves. So it's very similar to how the way that photos or books are organised in iBooks. And whereas I've got 20 books in total, we're just having a look at the 9 in my webinar bookshelf today. But that could be, say, pupil names. So you could have books organised in, however many pupils that you have. So that's quite a useful feature, the bookshelf. So let's get back to making a book. So I'm going to make a new book. You've got a few different layout options here. I, by default, again, tend to go for the square, but you can have a portrait or a landscape layout if you wish. I think most people tend to be using their iPads in landscape mode, so I'm not quite sure how well the portrait book would work, really. But yeah, so square, maybe landscape. And you'll notice further down that there are comic templates as well. So this just adds, a bit of fun, I suppose it is, isn't it, for making good, comics?
Yeah, lots of good tools to.
Yeah, so there's extra tools, not just the sort of skeleton layout. You'll see sort of the pages there, but also you get nice sort of visual effects that you can add in.
Kapow.
Like kapow. Yes, wow. Exactly. So, well, I'll hopefully have time to show you that too. So I'm just going to make, though, a square sort of book, fairly standard template. So what you see here is the cover. It opens up into the cover, and the arrow on the right is where you can add pages to your book. Now, a tip that I've actually only really just discovered today is that when you're viewing your books in iBooks and you open them up in iBooks, they tend to flip to the first page and kind of bypass the cover. So I would always put a cover on that's maybe just the title and maybe just, maybe a graphic, but not with any essential information on it. So let's just do that. Let's just put a title of our book in. And so how you would do that is you would go up to the plus sign at the top right, and you would add a bit of text. So you can see you've got different options for things that you can add onto your page here. And we're going to give it a title, so we're going to add a bit of text. Oh, and just to mention, I'm using the Kidogo child-friendly keyboard here, which is this bright keyboard, which if the pupils that you're working with need a bit of support from word prediction, it's inbuilt to the keyboard. So I think we've got the link to show maybe
Yeah,
the
we
Kudoba
can
link
go back to that.
sort of
Yeah.
later on. So what shall we call our book? Craig, I'm looking at you for inspiration here.
How about the furry cat?
The
or
furry
something?
cats.
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, we'll
Since
go
we
with
just
that.
saw something about cats.
Yeah, the furry cat. So we've got the basic title in there, and we'll just say done. But we might think, well, that's not a very interesting sort of font or size, etc. So while the text box is highlighted, so to speak, if I just tap away from it, do you see how that disappears? So I'm going to go tap again on the text while that box is highlighted. If I go up to the I, which is the inspector button, I think they call it, so the I just to the right of the plus sign, this allows me to change the text or to set the text in exactly the way I want to have it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make it a lot bigger because it's a title, and we can stretch the box when we come out of that to have it displayed a bit better. We can change the font, and there's an Open Dyslexic one, quite like that one. We could change the colour if we wanted to. We'll make it purple. What else can we do? We can do things like add a shadow if we want to, or we can align it. Yeah. So page background as in the page colour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going
Is
to.
that another?
It is. So if you're to do something to your page, as in change the colour of the page, you have to actually click out of the text box. So with the page just showing and nothing highlighted, when I go up to I this time, you'll see it's a slightly different set of options.
Oh, yeah.
So if I want to change that page to something else, a pink colour, I can do so. So there's one or two other options down here. I haven't really gone into all of them, but there's a paper one, etc. But I think we'll stick maybe with our pink one. So that's page options. And we've covered text. If we now go and put a picture in, so I'm going to go back to the add. I'm going to add, and this time I'm going to add a image from my. Now there's one or two ways of adding images. I'm going to add one, hopefully from my camera roll. I think I've got more dogs in there than cats, Craig. You can take a picture with the camera from within the app, or you can take a picture from your camera roll. So let's just go into my camera roll. So if I tap, I've got an image of a cat there, Craig. That's a surprise, there was. So that image is already in my camera roll. You can see it's not actually a photograph. In that, you can take any image from the internet and put it into your camera roll on your iPad. So if you're looking at an image on a website, etc., and you press and hold it, there is an option to copy it, and it goes straight into your camera roll, doesn't it? So that's one I've got. If I just pop the cat in and resize it now, so what I'm doing here is I'm just pressing my finger on the corner where the dot is, and it's letting me resize that. You can do things like kind of tilt your picture as well there, and you could also add multiple pictures.
Say I wanted to add whiskers to the cat. Is there a drawing tool?
There is a drawing tool. Yep. So I'm going to tap off my picture just onto the page so that it's not highlighted, and I'm going to go back up to add, and this time you see the pen option, so I'm going to press that, and this is my drawing option. So yes, I could add whiskers. So we've got a black colour there. I think I can choose my line. Maybe I'll choose a slightly thinner one. And now this is going to be quite a test. I might have been better with something slightly thinner than my finger, but yeah, looks like it's working not too bad. How's that?
Yeah.
Will that do? Okay, and then you can see I've got a rubber there if I wanted to rub any mistakes out. I press done, and now let's see. Yeah, they're still there. Good. So that's my front cover. What I'm going to do is now going to make my first page. So I just tap on the arrow on the right to get me into my first page. So add a wee bit more text, maybe. So, something about my furry cat. Maybe what it's called?
Fidget.
My cat is called, and you see the predictions coming up on this keyboard, so there I can just pop in called is called Fidget. Fidgit. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, can say done. And it defaults back to the text style that you were using previously, so you can see it's sort of defaulted back to my my dyslexia font text. So we've got our text, and this time we'll add a bit of audio in. So we go back to the plus, press add sound, and you get this recording button. So as soon as I tap the red circle, it'll start recording. So I'll just record this text in exactly as it is. My cat is called Fidget.
Meow.
That was crafty, Craig. A wee bit of audio in the background. So you can't listen to your recording before you kind of save it, but you can, if we just say, yes, I want to use this. I mean, if you obviously know that you've not recorded it correctly, you would say no, but I'm just going to say yes. So it pops that in, and now I can listen to it. Let's just see how it sounds. My cat is called Fidget.
Meow.
Very authentic, Craig, thank you. So we can make that a bit bigger just by stretching it, make it a wee bit more accessible.
And I believe you can make it invisible as well.
You
so
can,
you can,
yes,
activity,
indeed.
couldn't you?
And if we go back and say, let's just add that cat picture in again. So I'll just pop that back in from the camera roll. So there's my cat. So if I pop that there, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my let's see, drag that over. Or maybe actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can make that invisible first before I drag it. So I'm going to go with my audio button highlighted. I'm going to go to the inspector button. Now you can see on here you've got the option to make it invisible in iBooks. So I'm going to select that option. So although now we can still see it, and if I drag it over, it's actually going behind, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let me just
bring it to the front, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
With
you
that
would
option,
actually.
bring it to the front.
Let's just do that. So inspector, bring to front, just so that we can see it. So if I stretch that out to, it does mean that wherever the child presses on the cat, they'll get the audio. So it's quite a nice feature that actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have that audio button covering the whole page, you know, if you wanted it. Maybe a child who's not able to be quite so specific with where they're selecting. So that is quite a nice feature, being able to hide that audio. So what else have we got that we could add to make that page look a bit nicer? We could add a shape perhaps, and you see the three options just at the very bottom. In the middle you've got shapes, so you could have the speech bubbles are quite nice actually. Let's just put that in, and you can make the speech bubble kind of come out from the person or the animal, and you could put a wee maybe a wee bit of text on top of that with meow or something on it. So meow, and if we drag that over, so that's one way of using the shapes. There are a few other shapes if we just go back to that. As you can see, squares and arrows and lines and things like that, just to make your page a wee bit more interesting. So that's your shapes. You can use the pen tool that I used for the whiskers. You can use that just kind of freestyle if you want to. If a child wants to make something a wee bit more interesting, you can just use it to round a wee bit of text or round your page, just to make the book look, I see, a wee bit more interesting. And I think the other feature that you can add that I mentioned before is video. So if we just go to a new page and go up to add, and this time add, so the videos are videos that you might have in your camera roll, and you would probably want to edit them first so that they are the right length, but you add the video in exactly the same way as you would add your photographs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's really the kind of basics of using it. What I did mention too was the comics. So if we just got a minute to do that, Craig.
Yeah. This is one you made earlier, is it?
Yeah, I'll show you one that I made earlier. So you get some additional things with the comic layouts. You get these nice kind of background styles, and you get lots of these kind of awesome POW. Let's just have a look. Actually, I can show you that. Stickers, as they call them, to add into your comics. So that's that's quite attractive. So that's the front cover, and then you get these templates. You can choose which one you want to have, and it just sort of separates things out, makes them look like a comic, and just a lot of fun really for creating sort of nice books and stories.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So
well, we'll just quickly go back and to the desktop then. That's great. And just see if we have any questions.
So just to mention the Kidogo keyboard does make it a bit more accessible for pupils who might need that level of writing support. You could actually also copy and paste your text from another app.
Yeah.
So, for example, if the child was using, I've got clicker sentences on here, but they might be using other apps. And this is just a...
will we just quickly show that?
Yeah,
just do that
so if I was just selecting... Oh, sorry, Craig.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep, so this is the Clicker Sentences app, and so if a child was, say, using this for building their sentences, maybe they weren't able to use a keyboard, and they're building it up just word by word, and then what you can do is you can, I'm pressing on the text this time, and then selecting it all, and then if I copy, and now I'm going to jump to the Book Creator app, and let's just go to another book, the furry cat one. Cats and witches go together, don't they?
Yeah.
So onto my new page. So I'm going to press and hold onto my page until I get the paste option, and then paste the text in. So it's one way of involving the pupil in creating their own books, who they otherwise might not be able to type in from a keyboard.
Yeah, and assuming if you had a Wi-Fi connection in Siri, you could use Siri as
well to
you could.
Yeah, so that's speech recognition.
Thanks. So nice ways, different ways of getting text into, and of course you could use Clicker to read the text out. It's loud, so you can just check that's there. Okay, so we're almost finished. So thanks, Gillian, for that sort of comprehensive overview and practical look at Book Creator. I just wondered if there's any questions from anyone before we finish. We've got some URLs here to the sites just here, so feel free to click on them and that's okay, Alison. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, Alison.
We've run over time a wee bit, but I think it was worth it covering all the different options that's in there.
There's so much you can do with Book
Creator. It will
Creator.
be an archive as well.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to view that in the archive.
A couple of other ways that you can share Book Creator. So EPUB is a standard way of sharing it, and there's quite a lot of apps that will open an EPUB.
Yeah.
And you'll still be able to access your audio and your video. If you want to just print your book, you can share it as a PDF for printing off. And also there's another way of sharing it. They call it as a video, but it just really means as a slideshow, and that's for posting to the web. So it just automatically advances through your pages. So
okay. So just say thank. Colette's saying that she particularly liked the. Oops! I'll just find your text, Colette. The homeschool diary idea. So that's well received. And thanks everyone. Can you dictate into Book Creator with Siri? Yes,
you can.
You can dictate into Siri with into Book Creator with Siri. Yes, just watch the keyboard. You could do that. And Val's asking, remind me if you have a free version with only one book, can you save it to iBook and then use the free version for another book? So
No, I don't think you can actually. You really are only limited to one book.
So you could publish your book and then go back into Book Creator and delete that one and just create another one, could you? Or just re-edit it?
You could re-edit it.
Yeah,
you could.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Sue's asking about Kidojo keyboard. There's the link there.
So it's Kidojo. Kee.
Yeah, you just add it into the keyboard options and settings, Sue, to get that. Yeah, thanks, Robert. And it's there on the left-hand side as well.
There's one or two others. Super Keys is another good one as well.
Okay, thanks everyone. I think we'll close the session. Thanks to Gillian and thanks everyone for attending.
And thanks to you, Craig.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye then.
Bye. Bye.